Hey everybody.
Hey.
Well, we're back again, doing another video, and we with this one we're just going to jump right in. We're just going to get started on a topic and see what happens. Well, we did a video a little while back about this thing I call reality awareness and identifying details, and we want to now talk about one of those details, um, one of those things that's just really important, that is really what builds up something in reality around us that we need to know about. Um, so let me talk about let me talk a little bit about this reality awareness thing. Let me just touch on that for a second, and I know because she's chomping at the bit here, she's ready to go. Um, So, what I mean by that is that it's the summation of the present factors that affect our lives and the lives of those around us. It's identifying details and understanding how they add up, and then we can grasp what's really going on, and then be able to make an impact. So that's kind of what I mean by that. That's this concept that I really want to define really well. And it's really not something I invented, because it's reality's, you don't invent that. It's what's reality, what's really true, what's really going on. And so one of those details we want to talk about in this video is influence, and specifically marital influence. How does your relationship with your spouse influence others, and how does the relationship of other spouses influence yours? So, um,
Well,
what do you think?
in what way has other people's marriage been like a good influence on you in your life? Do you have any stories that you can talk about?
Oh, well, yeah. My grandparents, both sets of my grandparents were married their whole lives, and gosh, I wish I knew how long, but I had some that was like 50 or 60 years or something, and that really does speak to like generations. It empowers generations to be able to be healthy. And then we have some neighbors that are the same way. They're later in their years, and they've just been married a really long time, and that just is such a beacon of hope and of health and that kind of thing. Those kinds of things. Uh, so it's really good to see that. It's good to be reminded of those things. So yeah, I would say that those marriages that were really long lasting, and they I know they took a lot of work, and it's something to be respected and admired. And so that's yeah, it's not old fashioned. A lot, I think this day and age, maybe that's like, we think of that as an old fashioned kind of thing, and I think that's ridiculous. It's the foundation of a healthy society, is marriage. So yeah, obviously we think it's pretty important. So yeah, so that those really strong, long-lasting marriages, they definitely had a good impact on me.
Yeah, I had some really good marriages in my life, and I also had some bad marriage influences in my life. And I think that at a young age, I think that kids mostly look up to other people's marriages and how marriage is supposed to be. We don't really talk to kids about what marriage is or what it's all about. We just kind of live it out and they see it. And I think that it's really important to try to be good role models for them, not as a show,
because
but really learn about what marriage truly is.
Because they understand. They're, you know, really feeling the effects of what marriage is, and in real time, and talk about a detail to be able to identify and be aware of. That right there is huge, because they really do. It's not, you know, like it's not a factor. I mean, it's so, cause at least I know when I was younger, I could still remember how this affected me. And you know, you have this idea of nature versus nurture, and you know, it doesn't matter what your natural proclivities are. How
proclivities? What? Okay, we need another word for the
tendency to want to do something, to want to be a certain way, and that don't stop messing with me. I'm trying to think. It takes a lot of calories to keep this brain going. So it's why you feed me so good.
Right.
So, wow, totally forgot what I was saying. I'm just kidding. I didn't forget what I was saying. I was just being self-deprecating. Is that another good one for you?
I know what that was.
Okay, good. So then you have nurture. See, people watching it forgot what we were talking about, probably. Oh, we'll get through this. We promise we will. And nurturing, obviously, is how you're fostered, how you're raised up, how you're cared for, and that, my goodness, is a really good way to think about how your marriage can foster someone else's marriage,
Mm-hmm.
how it can impact, you know, in a nurturing way, or not a nurturing way.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you wanna do? Do you wanna talk about 5 things? Do one of those things, or?
Yeah. What are 5 ways that your or our marriage can impact others in a constructive way?
5 specific, like,
Mm-hmm.
personal, almost details, like identifying those. That's too personal.
I think in one way.
I'm just kidding. Oh no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I'm doing this. Wait, am I? Because I can't think of anything right now. No, one thing would be how I treat you in public. Trying not to, be fake or whatever, but not like.
And behind closed doors, it's not like you're.
Right, because that would be fake. So gosh, that'll be my number 2 then, not being fake.
Mm-hmm.
But my number 1 is in the public setting, not, not being dishonorable and too candid or too, whatever. That wouldn't be a constructive kind of vibe that we're giving off. To be mindful and conscious of how our actions and whatever influences people, because we can think we're doing something and think that it's positive and whatever, it feels good, but that could be hurting somebody. That could be that someone could have had a past hurt or something going on in their life, and you're being insensitive to it, just thinking, but because you're happy-go-lucky or whatever, that's
Mm-hmm.
being, constructive, and it's actually tearing them down a little bit. And so, in number 2, to not be fake. Number 3 would be caring for other people, and I guess in a marriage way. There's something you've talked about, like letting me go and help somebody or whatever, and knowing that it's going to inconvenience you, but we, you know, like to be there for people. So
Yeah, we're a team, and so
mhm.
sometimes one has to stay back and one has to go and work or whatever.
So that's my number
Go
4
help out.
is to be a team. Um, and a team in the complementarian way, which is not an egalitarian way necessarily, even though we're by all means equal in many ways, but also not in other ways. Um, because a lot of times I can go around just being a fool, thinking everything's okay, and there's nothing like your wife coming up to you going, "Hey, that's kind of stupid. Don't do you know,
Don't say that.
don't say that. Don't act that way. Calm down. Chill out." So it's somewhere I heard something about it's not good for man to be alone. It's in the Bible or something. So so and then the fifth thing that you could do to be a constructive influence in another marriage would be to honor God. Gosh, that should be the first one. I said, really, you know, glorifying Him and being the example of marriage that is used as an analogy, or maybe our marriage is the analogy, and you know, being the bride of Christ is truly where that comes from. That's the source. If that makes sense, you know, that's really the first like definition of marriage. So, yep, that's I would say, you know, making sure that he's in the middle of it. Three.
Because we can't do it without him.
Right? Yes,
I know
it's
we
a
can't.
miracle. It's a miracle. So, but 3 chords together are not easily broken. So, yep.
Was that 5?
I
Or
believe.
was that 4?
I believe so. I think it was about 7. It was about 7 or 8 packed all together.
Oh,
Okay. They just could explode into a bunch of other awesomeness. That's the part where you say, "Be quiet, calm down."
Be quiet.
So do you have? Let's just do 3 things that, as a wife, you can do to strengthen. I want to say our marriage.
Strengthen our marriage? 3 things to strengthen our marriage? Well, you really want to go there?
Or you
now?
could say influence other marriages and families too, because really, marriage, you know, as soon as there's a kid in there, it's a whole nother deal. And you know the reason.
And then when there's 3 kids in there, that's a whole nother deal.
Only crazy people have more than 1 kid. That's or 2's okay, but 3 and up is that's like why? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Was that like a pun? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But don't right.
So 3 ways to impact other marriages
or families.
or families.
I'll give you that another detail there.
Well, I think that sometimes when women get together, we can kind of bash our husbands to each other. And
What?
It's very easy to do. The hard thing to do
How
is
dare y'all
not do that. And I think
really?
that you know, you gotta have someone that you talk to when you have hard times in your marriage. You gotta know who those people are and make sure it's done the right way. But you don't want to go to a bunch of women or whatever and just talk about our husbands.
You got to have your circle, your small circle that you can trust to help you
through rough times. Like,
Yeah.
you really go to someone and say, I'm dealing with this, but
and
not go and say, just make fun of your husband and all that.
'Cause that's kind of a different thing. Because just bashing your husband because you have this sensation that it, you know, of whatever, you feel alive because you're talking trash or something. And that's
there's a scripture in the Bible that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And our tongues are very powerful and will eat its fruit. And so we got to be careful on how we speak of our spouse, even when they get on our nerves. That's probably something you should tell them, or tell, you know, someone who helps you out with your marriage. Another thing, you stole mine earlier.
It's just how it works. I went first.
Treating each other lovingly and respectfully in public. I think that a lot of marriages, they feed off of each other. And so if you're with another couple and you're making fun of each other the whole time, you will see the other couple kind of follow in that. But if you don't constantly make fun of each other, then they won't do that. So I think that that's a way you can influence other marriages. And let's see, I guess encouraging one another by Valentine's comes up, or anniversaries, the way that you treat me.
Alexa, make a reminder for Valentine's Day.
The way that I think...
Go ahead and order on Amazon a dozen roses.
I know that sometimes women will talk about how we have this one, we know this one couple, and the wife really serves her husband like food, and just she's very loving to him. And
lucky guy.
Yeah, he is a very lucky guy. And just being around them used to convict me a lot, and I would be, because I never used to serve him. And a little going into our marriage, I realized that his love language is acts of service, and that was really hard, for like a hard hit for me. I'm like, oh wait, like I never serve him. No wonder why I was so convicted. Like, and that's his love language.
That's why reality awareness and identifying details is so important, because if your husband likes acts of service and the wife hates acting in service, then, you know, it's the reality there is not going to be healthy.
Right. And so I think that maybe just not being as a show to show everyone this is how I treat my husband, or, you know, you got to kind of be yourself about it. But I guess, you know, I think people feed off of each other. I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's okay to give your husband a meal. Like, it's okay to give your wife flowers. You're not a weak person. You're not saying you're sorry because you're buying flowers. I think that having someone vulnerable around you about their marriage will help in yours.
Being real, not being fake.
Not being fake.
That's good. And your love languages, what's the buying stuff one?
No, it's not. It's kind of changed. You didn't know this, but
I was going to say that.
It used to be receiving gifts.
Gifts. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I do like gifts, but I think.
Oh, I know.
Since I had kids, I think it's words of affirmation is kind of a big deal to me now, because all I hear all day is, "Mommy, can I have this? Mommy, can," you know, and then it's when someone says something kind or nice to me, it's like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. You are such a good mom. You really are.
Brownie
Awesome.
points. You're just going to feed me with, now it doesn't cost you to feed me love.
You might feed me food. Because that's just all a man wants. Here's a free one for you. You want to go shopping? Like, ladies, and just get some stuff, you know, that you want, you know, not really be, you know, materialistic, but you know, you want to, you know, you gotta wear something. You know, it's winter time. You need some boots because you know it's gonna snow like this much. Or it's summertime and your boots then will make your feet hot. So go get some sandals, you know, or whatever. Um, Strappy shoes or whatever those things are with all the
And get Chick-fil-A on the way
buckles
home.
and stuff. And yeah, and so you want to do that? Then get your husband a spicy #2 combo. And when he starts to complain and say, "Why'd you spend all that money?" You stick the chicken, and it's like, "Oh, I'm not." He said and forgets about it. But you know, you want to go buy shrimp and chocolate and stuff at the store.
You're teaching women. See, this is a negative influence here because you're
depends
teaching
on how you
people
do
to
it.
be manipulative.
Just get him his coffee and his special mayonnaise or whatever it is that he likes. You have to at least do that. So, no, you don't want to be manipulative, but you still want to be practical because you're going to live together for a long time,
Right.
and it can be awesome or not awesome. So,
Right.
you know, again, what's the reality there, and what are the details that are adding up to that reality? How can you understand them to be able to objectively, you know, build the relationship, you know, up in a healthy way? You know, so men, it's not completely materialistic to let your wife get a pair of boots or, you know, a new shirt or blouse or whatever they're called. I don't know, but whatever it is, go to work and get some money and buy it for them. But you know, if you look in the closet and you find out, or you look on the credit card and you're like, there's 150 pairs of shoes in there, then it's okay. We've got a problem. But
you would only have to see that on the credit card and not like in the closet. At 150 pair of shoes, we definitely know in this house.
Yeah. So because you'd have to have a
I
shoe
need a shoe
wing.
closet. Yeah.
But right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that was pretty good. So, all right. Well, stay tuned. Hopefully the next one will be coming soon. We're going to try to do one every week, or at least every other week. So, all right. That's a wrap.
Bye.